Cilvia Demo was Isaiah Rashad's debut release. An Outkast fan from Chattatoonga, he named his debut project after the 1995 Honda Civic named Cilvia he drove in Tennessee. His style was brash and felt new when this project released in 2014. It has personal touches everywhere, and there is a significant amount of honesty. As usual, a lot of these are my thoughts and not facts. Take away your own interpretation of what these lyrics mean. The opening line is symbolic. He's not eating because he wants to cope, and coping mechanisms will be a common theme moving forward throughout this project. It's a bleak picture that talks about how his dad, not really a present figure in his life, taught him that drinking was the only path to solving pain and other issues. Jeanette G. Woitz wrote a book about the effects on children by alcoholic parents, and in it she talks about how parental behavior can cause a significant amount of tension and emotional inertia within a family. Feelings of ambivalence, uncertainty, a distrust in other people, and a lack of control are the fallout effects, and Rashad clearly mentions these later on. He has the line, "So one time for the caged bird," which usually would represent people incarcerated for crimes, but in this case it symbolizes being trapped inside addiction and a cycle of pain, the key to unlock the cage as such being impossible to find. Webbie Flow's production creates a feeling of nostalgia with its old Mr. Carmack sample. It seems almost mystical with the higher notes, as though it isn't real but a dream. Here Rashad tells a story of what he has grown from and what his past self was. "I done grown up for my child's sake" is a direct mention to his son, who turned out to be autistic. Another challenge he mentioned in an IG live a while back. Responsibility leads to maturity, the willingness to think beyond your own sphere when caring for others. With proper transmission, he could be referring to Cilvia, inside which he got his girlfriend pregnant in, and "always had faith" is a biblical reference to God that he often refers back to. His faith could also be traced back by his family, Trace representing his mother Tracy, and James representing the King of Soul, James Brown himself, both people who moulded him into the musical artist he is today. "I slide in my rimless Bentley," an allusion to the fact he treats his Honda like a Bentley, but also symbolic of sliding through places with ease, a potential comment on his adaptability growing up. "No tights, I'm a gymnast," maybe potentially talking about how he's flexible in terms of his lyrical abilities, both in terms of topic and wordplay. As annotated on Genius, 93 Till Infinity is one of the most famous beats ever made by Souls of Mischief. Check out Big Crit's Some Days or Freddie Gibbs' cover to see how other rappers have covered that track. Emmett Till was a 14-year-old African-American boy who was lynched in Mississippi in 1955 after being accused of offending a Caucasian woman in a grocery store. As Rashad mentions on Genius, it's a lesson that the South can be a more unforgiving place in terms of social norms. When he mentions Kembe, he's talking about Kembe X, another rapper that Isaiah has known for a long time. He's also name-dropped Kembe in his track 2 Pills. One thing that has remained constant all these years is that grills represent wealth. Having diamonds or gold in your mouth literally speaks of your affluence. It's a unique expression of style. That's what "I need diamond teeth, living like it's 1998" means. When Percy Was King talks about Master P's body of work within his own label No Limit Records, where he made hit tracks such as Make 'Em Say. He also mentions Juvie, aka Juvenile, who made the 2003 album Juve the Great, and also went 4 times platinum with 400 Degrees in 1998. Chattanooga is Tennessee's 5th most dangerous city, and the line is a reminder of watching your back, aka slipping, could end with you losing a limb as such if you're not careful. As he mentions Slow It Down, We Losing Him talks about being tailed in the city, and then as he says, he's been on the booze again. A reminder that everyday struggles would make him revert back to drinking. So Fresh, So Clean was a song off Outkast's 4th album Stankonia. He mentions his ambition was a scheme, aka that his aims were to work, actually in church, until his stepbrother gave him a copy of Outkast's 80 Aliens. "Don't mind the bumpers that was missing from my carriage" refers to how he treats the things in his life with integrity. He's proud of where he's come from, but he's also unabashed about his background. "It's poorly tinted, but my women not embarrassed" is another emphasis of this point. People around him see the honesty and truth in him. That last line there, "I came to bury you average, you feel slighted," is a hint at his desire for pure lyricism, the idea that his work is focused, not to get out of sticky or poor situations or to get famous, but because he knows he has a lot to say. Hope they don't kill you because you black today is a dangerous reminder of what can happen in America, a reminder of the Emmett Till situation. They only feel you when you pass away, again, is the idea that people are only truly appreciated when they're gone, examples being Amy Winehouse, Pop Smoke, Van Gogh, etc. This last line here is quite sad. It demonstrates how far people of colour have come in life, from being slaves and being colonised to then later on getting voting rights, for them to ultimately be broken by those who made them. Southern playalistic Cadillac music was Outkast's first proper foray into proving that the South and Atlanta could hold its own in the rap game and the mainstream music media spotlight. As Andre 3000 famously said, the South got something to say when accepting New Artist of the Year in a 1995 award show in New York. Isaiah Rashad is an extension of this. Cilvia Demo is a set of stories that need to be told. Do or Die, as he mentions here several times, was an American rap trio that came from the East Garfield Park neighborhood on the west side of Chicago, consisting of Below Zero, NARD, and AK. At least I fell in love with something greater than debating suicide is a nod at saying that life was simpler than it seemed, that life's purpose was rediscovered through the discovery of someone else. It's a nod to stories like Romeo and Juliet. Tim Duncan's loyalty for having played with the San Antonio Spurs for all 19 years of his career was a loyal move, but people don't know that he started out in school as an aspiring swimmer. And yes, you could definitely argue that Tim was one of the best power forwards and all players to ever live. Duncan was also someone who cites his late mother as his main inspiration, someone who said this nursery rhyme to him: good, better, best. Never let it rest until your good is better and your better is best, which became his own motto. Rashad also ended up on the 2014 XXL freshman list, and you could argue that out of everyone on that magazine cover, Isaiah is somehow the best, something that Isaiah himself believes in. Ponzi schemes are like pyramid schemes. You just join a fraudulent scheme to pay and then climb atop and rip off people who joined. There's also a reference to Breaking Bad here, that everyone has a dark side to them no matter how honest and truthful they may seem. Thank God for the shooter, and thank God for the leader, is the idea that people who seek to overturn the status quo are often people who do violent things that change the course of history. There's a cost for doing good is basically what he's trying to say, and changing the past. Thank God for the shooter is the same analogy tied to Jesus. The Romans crucified him, but Christianity was born as a result. So a bad act resulted in so much good over time. And was it simply fate decreed by God or not? Who knows? He references his aunt's house like Kanye did on Late Registration with Gone. Started with Advil is basically saying he started with ibuprofen, a minor painkiller, and then he moved up and leveled up. I wonder if my son gonna trust me after songs so ugly is really a rhetoric. After being so honest, will your family see you in a different light and shun you, or accept you and praise you for admitting your mistakes? Just spread the cigar wide. A moment of ease is interesting. Seeing or dreaming that you are smoking a cigar represents luxury and a relaxed state of mind. You are in control of your own emotions and passions. According to Sigmund Freud, a cigar is a phallic symbol and is representative of masculinity and raw energy. This dream symbol may also serve as something for someone who you know smokes cigars. We don't always be the leaders that they want us to be, a sign that external influence is difficult to bear with at times. Track 9, Menthol, is a reflection track. It's about his past life when he was broke, without a job, and a continuation of the pain coping mechanisms he's already mentioned. Read a magazine, past interference is like thinking about what the media and reviews in magazines do to the mind of musical artists and other creatives. A pass interference is when a player interferes with the receiver's ability to attempt to catch a forward pass. John Doe joins in on the chorus. We're on Genius, she annotated it. She mentions how the hook describes equally broken people looking for solace and peace together. It's about being open with each other, being receptive to the pains of the other person. It's a desire to be comforted. The use of dementia in verse 2 is used to describe someone who has a distorted sense of the past, the irony being that an elixir is used to cure ailments, not cause them. Track 10, Modest, again has some biblical references. Nail me to the cross and I'm just hanging, again is the idea that Rashad is now the leader in thought-driven hip-hop, and again a reference to Jesus Christ, but it's also a comparison of hip-hop to religion. The themes of death may be a way for Rashad to present the idea that he must succumb to drugs and alcohol to truly be remembered. The line in verse 2 sort of talks about how people around him depend on his fame, and they ask him irrelevant questions like what's his relationship like with everyone else at TDE. He talks about how TDE is his second home, but it's also a tough place to be with top work and everybody quite hard. Track 11, Heavenly Father, is my favourite track from the entire album. Isaiah Rashad also mixes up his flow in all sorts of ways here. The line, Lordy, give me something for my soul, it's an allusion to the main sample on the track, which is the original soul track by the Crowns of Glory called Lord, Hold Me in Your Arms, which in itself was a prayer song. You can see that Isaiah is talking about how he thought about killing himself a lot when he was 19, but ended up not following through. Isaiah's father not being present is also a key topic he talks about sometimes, but also on some of his IG lives. I Don't Want to Be Like You No More is about how he knows that alcoholism runs in the family, but is something that he doesn't want to continue. Unfortunately, he's just replaced it with getting high. Even the chorus is a thought about how help seems so far away when he needed it the most. Where is God in those times of need? Alcohol abuse in the third verse is something he openly admits, but as we know, it's a habit learnt from his father, and it is a metaphor for growing up in Chattatoonga. He could have just easily ended up another statistic in some shooting, but he didn't, he succeeded. Track 12, Banana, was named after a symbol for yellow Xanax pills. Xanax is generally an oral medication used to help manage anxiety disorders, specifically panic and generalized anxiety. Banana could also be a metaphor for a clip in a gun, alluding to his rhymes being like bullets, where he destroys other MCs. See, there's nowhere to go to hide from the lows. The use of rhyming between go and lows is used to flow between the lines and point out that escaping addiction is easier than it seems. And he mentions that the lows, aka withdrawal symptoms, keep people trapped. Can't go back to selling that retail is a memory of his old life, something he knows the dangers of having been there, and now works hard to not fall into the vicious cycle that plagues so many people. As Isaiah has already mentioned, Master P was a significant rapper in the late 90s who formed No Limit Records, known for hits such as Mr. Ice Cream Man. Master P was also someone who basically influenced the way Southern hip-hop as a whole was sounding, and also his work ethic at some point was releasing songs every week. Brad Jordan as a song has the rapper Michael Da Vinci featuring, and the whole song is a tribute to the famous MC Scarface, a member of the Ghetto Boys, who were a hip-hop group from Houston, Texas, and is also considered one of the greatest MCs to have ever lived. Rucker Park is a basketball court found in Harlem, New York, named after Holcomb Rucker, who was a local teacher and playground director for the NYC Department of Parks and Recreation. Players in the Rucker tournament featured slam dunks and crossover dribbles, and a lot of players honed their skills at Rucker, such as Kareem Abdul-Jabbar and Earl Monroe. Track 14, Shot You Down, has a remix with other TDE members and overall rounds out Cilvia Demo. I'm going to quote the website Pop Matters here on their impressions, which I fully agree with when I first heard this project back in the day, and I think it sums up Cilvia Demo as a whole. A good first impression leaves a lasting impression, and that's just what Isaiah Rashad did. Not only did he prove that he could fit right alongside the other TDE members, but he proved he has as much potential as anyone among the new wave of rappers. The chilled production complements Rashad's smooth, thought-provoking vocals to create a cohesive album, one that is considered one of the best of the young year. The whole purpose of Cilvia Demo was to make Isaiah Rashad's presence in the rap game known. It's safe to say that the mission was accomplished. As good as Cilvia Demo is, it still carries the feeling of an appetizer. It's hard to be content with living in the moment, and many fans will now be expecting Isaiah Rashad to release his own Good Kid Mad City within the next year or two. It's impossible to predict how good Isaiah Rashad can be, but you can be sure that he's not leaving anytime soon.